Rev up your engines!
Well, I have to address this. The rumors of my death are largely exaggerated. Somebody on Facebook posting that, oh, Scotty's wife woke up and then he was dead in a bed next to him. Well, that's news to me, too, because I wake up every morning. One of the myths was that my wife has 3 months of videos stored up, and so these videos that you're watching are just recorded, and I'm actually dead now. Of course, if you believe rumors like this, you might think I pre-recorded this, too, but here's my phone. Tuesday, July 12th, right? And I'm still breathing. At least I think I'm breathing, unless maybe I'm dreaming that I'm alive, and I'm not. I don't know. Thanks for all the people that were worried about what happened to me. And I got to admit, I have a rather sardonic sense of humor. So somebody emailed me and said, Scotty, I read this thing that you're dead. You should tell people about what's happening. And so I emailed them back and I said, well, I can't because I'm dead. Here I am, pretty much alive and kicking. And I do my live car talks, and you can ask me a question in a live car talk, and then I answer them. And it's not like I'm typing them. I'm talking, and you can see me on the live car talk. So I would assume that I'm still alive and kicking here. Gare says, I smell coolant in my car. Coolant level went down by about 1 inch in 2 months. Well, 1 inch in 2 months isn't much. Some of that'll just go. You smell it. So obviously, the vapor's coming out somewhere. And that little inches, that's not much. But do this first. Get a new radiator cap. You said it's a 2006. Radiator cap costs you 10, 12 bucks. Put a new radiator cap. If that's weak, it will leak fumes and you'll smell them. Pray it's that, because if you don't see it dripping anywhere, a lot of times that can be the world's worst nightmare. Now, you said it's a Lincoln. Let's say your heater core is leaking. If the heater core on that Lincoln is leaking, it is over $1,000 a job, taking the whole dash assembly apart, replacing the heater core and putting it back in. That is one stinker of a job. Pray it's just the radiator cap. Change that, because if it isn't, it can often be the heater core. And any mechanic can tell you that. We just pressure test it with a machine. Leaking a little bit, it will drip under the car. Air conditioning drip tube, because that's also the drain tube for the heater core that's inside the dash. You would see coolant then dripping down under the car there, and it would be coming from inside the car. Then you'd have to spend a fortune replacing that heater core. Or if you lived in some place like Dallas or Houston where it's hot most of the time, you could just bypass the heater by plugging the 2 heater hoses together with a connector and not having heat in the winter, but you wouldn't have to spend $1,000-something bucks replacing the heater core. JKL94 says, I started my engine with no oil. I was changing my oil in my 05 Suburban. I got distracted. I ended up starting the engine with a remote start while I was underneath it. It ran for probably 2 minutes. Seems to be running fine now and doesn't knock. Could I have damaged it or am I lucky? Here's the thing. Realize there's always some oil left in your engine. Even if you get the drain plug and let it drip, there's still oil in hidden parts. There's still usually 1.5 quarts or so at least hiding in the engine somewhere. And hopefully that was enough to keep the thing from blowing itself up. That's why I don't like things like remote starts. You push a button like that and it starts with no oil in it, that isn't going to happen if it's a key car, right? You got to get in there and turn the key. You accidentally started a stupid thing up while you were under it. You couldn't do that if you had to have a key and ignition to turn it. Those systems really, you better be really careful when you work on that car. So my advice with that is, if you got a key for that, 1, you got to make sure the thing's turned off. And 2, if you do have one of those remote keys and remote starters, put it in your house like 300-400 yards away in a box or something, so it can't tell the vehicle to start while you're working on it. I don't like any of those systems. They're annoying. But in your case, pray it didn't do any damage. You'll find out in the next month or so. If it doesn't go clackety clang clang to start burning oil, or temperature gauge start getting hotter and hotter, you could have gotten lucky, because realize even though you emptied the oil out, there was still probably 1.5 quarts in there. And if it was just idling and you weren't revving it up because you just hit the remote start, you might be lucky and it didn't damage anything. Diesel82 says, my 2013 Infiniti JX35 has a broken AC. My AC was working fine until 2 days ago. It was blowing cool air and all of a sudden started blowing hot air. I've been trying to test it. What can I do? Oh, that stuff is computer run. Now, it's a 2013, so it's 9 years old. Here's what you want to pray it is, and it often is. It could be just low on refrigerant. All air conditioning compressors leak some refrigerant. They're designed that way because the compressor spins a shaft. The shaft goes into the compressor. There's a seal there. If that seal was perfect and sealed everything, it would run dry and it would burn out. So it's meant to leak a little bit of refrigerant and refrigerant oil to keep the seal moist. Some cars can go 8, 9, 10 years before they need it added. Pray that's all you need. I got videos showing you how to do it. You put a gauge on it, see what the pressure is. If it's too low, you can add a little bit of refrigerant. You can buy one of those cans at an auto parts store. I got a video show you how to do that. Pray it's that, because if not, 10-year-old Nissan, the compressors often break then, and they cost a small fortune, and they'll do exactly that. They'll be working one day and not working another. Either you're low on refrigerant or the compressor's gone out. From my experience with Nissan products, these are just fancy Nissans. Pray you're just low on refrigerant, because often that's the case. Josh Jack says, can I use AT205 Reseal as a plastic restorer? I tried some on plastic, and it seems to be a darker color. Got a better thing than that for that. AT205 Reseal is made for rejuvenating rubber, not plastic. It'll make plastic a little bit shiny, but it's for rubber stuff. For plastic, the best thing to keep plastic from going bad in the first place is a spray called Plexus, Plexus. Guys invented it ages ago for the plastic screens on fighter jets to polish them and keep them clean. And the stuff is phenomenal for that. And I use it on plastic all the time. It's not cheap. A little can might cost you $29 on Amazon. It lasts a long time, and it really does prevent problems. Now, if it's really, really bad, the company's called Lithium, and they make a plastic rejuvenator that is phenomenal. I bought a dash from a junkyard for '07 Matrix, and it looked like crap. And I just polished it with their lithium polish for plastic. It looked brand new. It was shiny. You could see your face on the thing practically. So that's what I would use to rejuvenate plastic, because that's exactly what it's made for. It's got a bunch of silicone and different things in it, man. It really works well. I use it on all kinds of plastic stuff. It also works on rubber, but it's really made for plastic. Timothy Ron says, Scotty, is the Bosch Actron auto scanner a decent scan tool? I seen you use it a while back. Oh yeah, they're decent scan tools, you know. They're nothing like the new stuff that I have. You know how computers are. Every, year and a half, 2 years, they double their capacity. So even a $100 scan tool today does what a $5,000 scan tool did 10 years ago. So the newer ones, definitely, if you pick the right ones, are much better than the older ones. But if you're not a mechanic and you want some basic information, the Actrons are decent scan tools. I noticed a lot of companies used to sell those things. I bought mine ages ago, AutoZone. And now I notice O'Reilly and Pep Boys, they all sell Innova scan tools, which are good scan tools too. So, you know, time changes, so do the scan tools, but they're not bad scan tools, the Actron. Chuck McKenzie says, Scotty, what do you think of oil pump extractors for oil changes? The ones that hook to your car battery. I think it's a stupid idea. Audi started it in their dealership saying, oh, we just extract the oil through the oil dipstick. We don't drain it from the bottom. The reason the oil drain is on the bottom because all the crud's on the bottom and it'll all come out. You'll never suck it all out. It's a stupid idea. But it was all started because the dealerships just wanted to change the oil faster, not have to take all that stuff off. They're still charging the same price they charged before. They're just doing it in, 5 minutes, sucking it out instead of having to take all that undercarriage off. It's a stupid thing. The drain plug's there for a reason. Drain it from the bottom. The crud's on the bottom. You want to empty them out. End of story. Here we have more failure advanced technology. Mercedes-Benz has to recall 235,000 of its cars because their SOS system doesn't send out the SOS message. You think it's going to save you, but it just doesn't do its job. Now, they had to recall 234,000 of the cars, almost just the entire inventory and models of cars. If you want to know about it, just go to the National Highway Traffic Safety Association.gov, and you can find a website, put in your VIN number, you can see if yours is covered. What happens is there's a glitch in the emergency call system, so it can't call out. The communication module can't connect to a mobile phone network, so it won't call anybody. And it's worse than you might think. Not only is the automatic e-call failed, you lose the manual one too, so you can't manually call either. Wouldn't that be fun, Hey, it's not working, I'm upside down in a ditch, help. Now, this goes from 2017 to 2022 in just about everything they make. CLA, GLA, GLA, A-Class, AMG, C-Class, E-Class, S-Class, SL Class, GLC Class, and CLS Class. They sure have a lot of classes. Maybe they should go back to school. There's not going to be any kind of warning. It's not going to warn you that the stupid thing isn't working. Boy, they need to do something about those Mercedes. They don't make them like they used to. Well, technology is certainly moving on. Toyota's now come up with a cabin awareness concept they might put in their cars, which uses high-tech radar to see if there's any heartbeats inside the car in case you left your kid in the back seat and it's 100 degrees outside. It uses millimeter wave radar to get movements in the cabin, see if there's heartbeats and stuff. They call it 4D imaging radar. And it can do heartbeats, respiration, and determine the size, posture, and position of every living being inside the vehicle. It comes from an interesting idea. NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab has a system that's based on radar to find heartbeats and respiration when there's earthquakes and stuff, to find people hidden under buildings that are down. So, it's kind of an interesting idea. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.